This year at the World Money Fair in Berlin 2026, the Royal Canadian Mint and Carveco come together to explore one bold question. Can AI-generated design make the leap from the visual to the physical? And if so, what does it take? By combining the Royal Canadian Mint's decades of research, innovation, and world-class craftsmanship with Carveco's precision-driven design and manufacturing software, we set out to test the boundaries of possibility. Together, we examine how artificial intelligence can complement human expertise, enhance creative workflows, and ultimately transform the way coins are imagined and produced. This collaboration isn't just about technology. It's about redefining what's achievable when tradition and innovation meet. Join us as we reveal the results and the future of AI-assisted coin design.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Xianyao. I'm here with my colleague, Robert Newman, who is the managing director of Carveco. So we're here to talk about the evolution of digital minting, particularly with AI power at the Royal Canadian Mint. And we'd like to share the story, what we have thought, what we have built, and how AI redefining engraving and embossing and the production flows. So let me first start with some context. So minting industry faces a familiar combination of challenges. They are basically demand for ever better engraving, embossing quality, increasing expectations in innovation and even customer customization. And of course, the continuous push for faster delivery while staying customer-centric. So those challenges led us to rethink how digital minting, particularly now with AI, can help our engravers to come up with something new, something better, something even faster. So that's how we look into this one and turn to Carveco, see what we can do. So Rob.
Thank you, Xianyao. So in September last year, we released AI technology out to all of our customers to enable them to create reliefs from text and from images. But for mints, there's one thing that stood out really, and that was the fact that mints get designs from anywhere really. It can come from a photograph, it can come from a sketch, it comes from an external or an internal artist. So really an image to relief is what a lot of mints work with. So how did we convert an image to a relief that is to a mint quality standard? And that was a question we set ourselves, because I feel like I've been on stage here for the past few years talking about AI. But this is a journey today about how we take the technology and turn it into something physical. So we've started that, and we've gone with the hardest thing for AI to understand, and that is a sketch. So we started with working with the Canadian Mint on a whole series of sketches from senior engraver from the Royal Canadian Mint, Eric Boyer. And sketches are very difficult for AI to understand. So we started with a whole series of sketches. We narrowed it down to 2 sketches, which was the owl and the otter. We thought those would convert really nicely, but finally we converted it down to 1, which was just the owl. Now, this owl I have named Eric the Owl, after the artist Eric Boyer, because when you name something, it has a bit of personality. So this owl, we're now going to take on a journey from the sketch through to the physical final piece. But before we get to that final piece, I'm going to talk about the design side and the steps we've taken to get to the design side. Because when we started with this sketch, we wanted to know if it was suitable for engravers, because that's what everybody has asked for the past few years. Is the AI any good for engravers? And we asked that question ourselves, to be honest. So we took that sketch across to the Canadian Mint, to their engraving team, And working with them, we took the sketch, threw it straight into our released software, and we got a result. Now, sketches and AI, it is hard for a AI system to understand a sketch because it doesn't understand depth. It doesn't understand lighting. So it has to interpret it in the same way an engraver has to interpret a sketch. It doesn't understand what the side view looks like. So we got this result out of it, which in fact is okay. It's not a bad first attempt. And we thought, okay, what does this look like and what does this mean to an engraver? Well, first of all, the texture isn't really usable for an engraver. For a woodworker, it's okay, but it's quite mushy. The depth map, the height under it, okay, that was reasonably usable, but what is it going to actually save? So we estimated that this was about a 10 to 15% time saving. And actually that made my software developers quite sad. So we had to go back to the drawing board. I didn't want sad software developers. And really we wanted to progress with this as a project. So I felt we'd been speaking about this for a while. So how did we take the sketch and go further forward with it? So we iterated and we thought, okay, let's take this sketch and let's turn this into something AI will understand better. So it understands realism better. AI understands reality, photographs better. So we turned it into this photograph. So the sketch to the photograph back into the AI system. So now it should understand depth better. So we should get better height separation, better height map from it itself, something more realistic, which is what we see here. But again, it's given us the realistic textures of an owl, which is what an owl is, but that's not what you would create as an engraver or as an artist. But that's what it is. That's the realism of it. But it's still a bit mushy. But that's not what we're trying to achieve here. We're trying to achieve what an engraver would create on a coin. And the reason we're actually trying to create this is not to replace the engraver. Why we're trying to do this is to create something that is a repetitive job, like the underlying base plate, so it gives them somewhere to start, so they can refine the detail, they can make the improvements, they can iterate. If they want to change those feathers, they can change those feathers faster. If they want to change those ears, those eyes, they can do that. So what does this look like time saving as a result? So the photograph to the CAD model to about a 25 to 30% time saving. So there's still a lot of work that's got to go into this model. Again, I had still sad software developers because they felt there's still more that could be done with this. This was great for woodworkers, for hobby makers, for anybody else who was creating something, but not to the quality that we expect within this industry. So we started to iterate again and again and again, going backwards and forwards with the Canadian Mint to try to create something that was a starting place for a coin, working in the way that an engraver would. So we took that sketch and converted it into something that really mints are used to, engravers are used to, which is the similarity of a plaster model, where we came up with the owl, Eric the owl, as a plaster model. So a sketch to a plaster using a whole series of variations of recipes, moving through multi-stages. We then took this into the software. Now we can see this is, again, quite a quick process to do, whether it's a high relief or a shallow relief. What we're really trying to achieve here was, what would the quality look like as a shallow relief? Because we understand what the quality will look like as a high relief. What would it look like as a shallow relief? And what would you need to do to this as an engraver afterwards? And there's a number of things. There's a lot of things you would still need to do as an engraver. But could it get you 50 or 60% closer to the final finished piece? And that's what we were aiming for. So here is where the software has got to. As you can see, that is relatively quickly done from that process. So from the AI plaster style to the CAD model, we estimated about 55 to 65% time saving for an engraver on that, which, if you think what I'd spoken about previously, some designs, they could be 40, 50 hours, some could be 140 to 150 hours. Actually, that's a significant time saving, basically giving you a lot of time back to focus on the details, the iteration, or the original concept planning for designs itself. So we started off with the original idea by Eric Boyer, his sketch. We made an iteration. We then thought, okay, this isn't exactly what we want. Where can we go further? And this is the power of AI, is the ability to continuously iterate designs and improve and change and make things better on the fly. All the way across to the bottom right-hand side, which is the sketch, to the final piece here. And that final piece is great. It's a CAD model. We've all seen the CAD models, but the next stage is really me handing over to Xianyao, where he's going to talk about where we took this afterwards from the digital into the physical. And does it work on a coin? Because I could tell you all day long, in the digital, this looks good, right? But does this work from a Mint perspective? 3 years of talking about digital. Let's see what this looks like from a Mint perspective. And that's where I'm handing over to Xianyao now to talk about how Eric looks in the physical.
Thank you, Rob. So now the challenge comes. So once we have the 3D modeling coming from AI-powered modeling, are we able to actually transfer this into reality? So, now you can see the virtual modeling, which is still like a virtual Eric, not the real Eric yet. So we have taken the 3D modeling and try to see how we can meet the production constraints. And very interesting to say this slide that show the reality. So it confirms the technical viability of AI-generated geometries and demonstrate the AI creativity can meet production constraints. Now we have got the dice, and once you have the 3D modeling, but not necessarily we were sure we could get into, but based on what we have done working with Carveco together, we come up very close to physical product. Now shows the production dice. Okay, here's the final coin. So I have brought here, so maybe at the end of the session, now we can look at the real Eric, which is on the silver pieces. So all the details are confirmed. We are able to achieve. This is where the art, AI, and manufacturing come together. So from basically began from the idea. So assistant tool becomes a physical product that meets our quality in terms of design details, in terms of all the physical features. So we think that this is a really feasible thing. This is viable in terms of production. Next two slides basically summarize what we have learned from the journey, and this showing some comparison between the AI-powered modeling and of course with some kind of a manual traditional modeling. So as the journey we have experienced, you can see the AI power tool really save time and can come up complete the designs in minutes instead of days or weeks. And also the AI can automate some repetitive tasks, can generate some personalized things very easily and quickly, and also can predict some issues and correct the issues at the early stage. So this is a kind of a great tool for our engravers to moving forward. However, we like to emphasize, as Rob mentioned earlier, the message here is not that one replaces the others. The message is the AI is a good tool to expand the experts' reach for something from impossible to possible, to make the possibility even wider and at a short time frame. This also confirms the AI is something can allow our engraving experts to come up with something more focused on artistry, quality, and innovation. So, and we're quite happy with what we have learned so far. And then we try to see what will be our next steps. So basically from here now on, we are looking into this rolling to reality at the scale. We focus on how we can come up with some pilot with even more complex designs and how we can provide more training to more engravers, not just Eric, but more people can do this with the proper infrastructure in place, with good systems all integrated together to leverage the AI power. And of course, we also need to think about the cybersecurity because we're dealing with the digital world, right? This is something Rob is going to elaborate in the next couple of minutes. So basically, this is our roadmap from the prototype tool to a fully embedded capability at the Royal Canadian Mint. So Rob, you want to talk about the cybersecurity?
Yeah. So security is obviously really important and a very hot topic around AI. So we've been working to try to understand the security requirements around AI technology and the information not being leaked out. So we've been looking at how we can protect data with dedicated in-house servers, which is what we've been looking at, how we can bring technology in-house on server systems. We're doing that initially as we're piloting with the Canadian Mint some systems. And so we can look at the dedicated server with offline security. And the advantage of that is we're looking at how people can have unlimited credits and creations from this process so that everything is kept within-house, within a Mint itself. So it's not going off to the cloud and it's not having to go constantly call backwards and forwards. So not only are we looking at the AI technology for design, we're also looking at the security impacts within the minting industry itself. So it's quite an interesting project that this is escalated into. And it's been a lot of fun actually doing this as a joint presentation. I feel like you and me could be the new Thomas and Dieter in the way of presentations that's going on. So I will hand back to you, Xianyao, to close for us. It feels like I'm doing what you two do.
You're doing it well, Rob.
Oh, of course, we're closing our talk this afternoon, but doesn't mean we're going to stop here. So we will be continue our journey. And we're looking into our further collaboration between Royal Canadian Mint and Carveco. And of course, we like to see we can expand the exploration with other mints in our minting industry. We're quite excited, but of course, we welcome your question. Thank you for your listening, and we will be happy to talk to you about this topic. At the breaks or even later during these days at the World Money Fair.
Yeah, and both of us will have the coin on us. Exactly. So you'll be able to come and see the coin.
That's right. So this is the real Eric. Thank you.